bully, but so are you. And so are you and you. We all are. We are bullies to our planet. We are bullies to nature, to animals. We are even bullies to each other. Now, I'm not about to start another Greta Thunberg movement, because, well, she's doing great on her own, but I am here to make a change. I'm going to student you about our planet. And I say student because it is about time that parents and teachers learn a bit from us. It starts with fear. Fear is an emotion that has protected us since the creation of our species. It is one of the 4 basic human emotions that we all experience one way or another. In humans and in all animals, the purpose of fear is to promote survival. Throughout our evolution, those who feared the right things survived to pass on their genes. And in passing on these genes, the trait of fear and the response to it were selected as beneficial to our race. Charles Darwin proved that fear is an evolved reaction to an imagined situation. Through an incredibly safe experiment that involved him and a snake, he concluded that our will and reason are powerless against the imagination of a danger that has never been experienced. The response to fear is an ancient instinct that has remained untouched by the nuances of modern life. Anticipating fear can precipitate the same reactions as actually experiencing it. Our ancestors, well, I'm not sure if we can even call them that anymore, but cavemen, when they saw rain, they anticipated lightning, and they remained in their cave until the storm passed. The sole reason as to why we learned how to make fire was because we were afraid of the noises we heard in the dark. We anticipated animals coming from behind and having us for dinner. We developed nyctophobia. We were afraid, and so we learned how to overcome our fears. We learned how to survive. Now, although today the stimuli have changed, we are in as much danger as we were hundreds of years ago. The only problem is we can't anticipate what comes next because no one and nothing has ever gone through it. And so we're not ready. Allow me to be existential for a second. Our world is going to end. Like everything else in life, one way or another, it's going to die. As Nelson Mandela said, death is inevitable. Our planet will take its last dying breath in a matter of 3 billion years. So fortunately, it won't be dying anytime soon. I mean, unless we get invaded by Area 51 aliens or something. But for now, our planet can hope to live a long, fluctuating, and exciting life. We, however, are screwed. Our species, and many other species that are entirely doomed. For now. And when we're gone, our planet is going to rejoice. We have seen incredible improvements in our environment by simply removing human involvement in so many cases throughout history. Possibly the most famous one being Chernobyl. After solely 30 years since its nuclear disaster, it has become a forest. An oasis rich in flora and fauna, nature has once again reclaimed its position in the hierarchy, swallowing the buildings and entwining its roots in every piece of concrete left behind. And although it is still polluted, it is in an incredible state compared to the one it was when we abandoned it. Another example would be this one here. This is a house near my aunt's house in Spain. I mean, what's left of it. It used to be a convent and there was an explosion. Don't worry, there were no nuns left inside it, but after roughly around 20 years, remaining untouched, it has flourished into a jungle. And the house has quite literally sunk in nature, as you can see. And when I came to take these pictures, I was excited. I was excited because I realized that nature has an almost miraculous way of recovering. And I also realized that the reasons we have been given so far as to why we should strive for the change in our planet's environment have been entirely wrong. Environmental campaigns that claim that we have to save our planet, that it'll die if we continue to abuse its resources, destroy its gifts such as the Amazon rainforest, the world's lungs burning down to ashes, or the Pacific Ocean being destroyed by polluting particles. But in reality, we have to save ourselves, because we are the ones who are in danger. For probably the first time in a climate speech, I'm telling you to be selfish. Be selfish and save yourselves. Save yourselves by saving the environment. We have the power to lengthen our lives exceedingly. We quite literally have the world in the palm of our hands, yet right now we are suffocating it and endangering ourselves, but we are too blind to notice. Imagine the possibilities of our future, the possibilities of innovation that we will create, the evolution of knowledge that we can one day reach. Well, now we are disregarding all of these possibilities because we aren't thinking for the future, we are thinking for our future, our generation. And I get it. I'm part of this generation too. What is the point of making the planet such a nice place to live if we'll be long gone before it actually works? But what about our children? I'm 19 and in no way ready to have a child of my own, but I have found myself thinking, where will I live when I grow up? What countries are safe enough, healthy enough for my baby to grow up well? Today there is 45% of children that suffer from severe depression following extreme weather and natural disasters. 45%. My 40-year-old cousin, I know she's adorable, well, she came up to me a few months ago while I was watching David Attenborough's documentary of Our Planet. Great documentary, by the way. And in one of the devastating scenes that showed how much our planet has changed, she looked up at me and said, "Don't you want it to stop?" And of course, I gave her the immediate reaction that we all give when someone asks us a similar question. I nodded and said, "Yes, of course." And her face saddened. And she said, "Then why aren't you doing anything?" And this broke my heart, because a 4-year-old daughter that should be outside playing games, unaware of the issues that surround her, I am convinced that she is more aware than the majority of the adults sitting in this room. And she's right. Because we are doing nothing. We claim to be creating Clean Air Acts and environmental laws, but for every one thing we solve, we make 3 more mistakes to worsen the situation. We watch documentaries, tear up for a few seconds, and then forget about it. Like everything else in life, the situation in Venezuela, the diseases in Africa, the burning down of the rainforest. It was interesting for a week, but now it's old news. And this is human nature. We are naturally selfish. Since we are personally not feeling affected, we are not seeing these changes impact our day-to-day lives, we couldn't care less. We aren't afraid. I recently read an article on theconversation.com where a teenager said, "Climate change is like Thanos, wiping half the world so that the rest can survive, and we are being sacrificed." And he was right, because we are being incredibly irrational, and this is what I don't understand. Welcome to the Anthropocene, today's era. It has become an era of animal hunting, pollution, climate change, animal testing, overexploitation, overconsumption, overpopulation, amongst so many others. We claim to say that we want to help the climate, yet then we celebrate the expansion of an airport because, oh my goodness, it's so cool, a metal building that's exactly like a mall, except airplanes can land in it. We have to wake up, act a little smarter, and stop being so hypocritical. So what can we do? Well, we can make a change. We can teach our children to make a change. Teach them to be excited about the possibilities of humanity. Teach them to use less water, to use less electricity, because every little does help. Let's give this speech a more optimistic turn, shall we? What are we doing right? Well, there are more and more people gaining an awareness about the severity of this issue. An increasing number of controversial speeches are gaining an audience. For example, our friend Greta Thunberg. And climate change is becoming an issue that is piquing the interest of many powerful people and companies. An example of this would be Gucci, who has recently become carbon neutral, meaning that they are taking action to remove as much carbon dioxide in the atmosphere as they have put into it. Another example would be Dior, who recently created a fashion show promoting environmental awareness during Fashion Week. And companies such as Google have cut their energy usage. The example sets by these important companies are being followed by other large companies such as Diageo, who has recently banned their use of plastic straws throughout their restaurants and bars. Countries such as New Zealand is now banning plastic bags, and Bangkok is taking action to remove all uses of capsules, microbeads, and oxo-degradable plastics. So overall, people are starting to listen. Moreover, there are nascent scientific discoveries that are surfacing which could help solve problems such as climate change. My favorite one is that we have recently discovered that underwater seaweed forests have the ability to absorb planet-warming carbon emissions. And obviously, as a plus, they are fireproof, so we can't make the same mistake as the one we had with the rainforest. Scientists are proposing establishing farms to grow the seaweed and then sink it deep into the ocean where the encapsulated carbon would remain trapped for hundreds to thousands of years. Now, the only problem with this is we still don't know what technology we could use to bury this seaweed deep into the parts of the ocean. So I guess for those of you who are interested in engineering and technology, that could be a very fun experiment to try out. Overall, I think we've had enough, haven't we? Enough of these speeches. Enough of sitting around hoping for someone to come up with a solution. Enough of waiting to see how bad the situation will actually get. Now, we must remember to remain realistic because those examples of Chernobyl and the abandoned house, they are rare cases. We have to obviously live somewhere and we have to continue to evolve. The beauty of our species is that we have an intense need to learn and improve everything. And I am convinced that one day we will learn how to solve climate change and we will learn how to balance our needs with the needs of the environment. Because soon we will have to. And the more time we give ourselves, the better. So with that motivation at hand, let's make a change. Let's influence others for the better of the environment and for the better of humanity. Our planet has sent us the warning cries. We now have to listen to them, not just hear them. We have all the right tools to do it, so let's start using them. The Arctic is melting. Oceans are turning into deserted wells, corals are being bleached, forests are vanishing, animals are in peril, and we, although it might not be obvious now, are being tremendously impacted. So to conclude, I leave you with this. Be selfish. Be selfish and save yourselves by saving the environment. Be selfish and be afraid. Let fear consume you into finding a solution. Let fear consume you into surviving. Be selfish and be afraid. Thank you.